Shalom, brothers and sisters. It's Chris with firstcenturychristianity.net. And the question I saw posed on the internet this week because of the discussions about the war in Israel, and that always brings out the best in everybody. But as I was just scrolling through social media and then checking up on the news, I saw a discussion where people were mad that John MacArthur, a preacher, a Baptist minister, I think he's in California somewhere, a very famous minister, had said a few years ago that Christians and Jews worship the same God. And he said this, I think, in an interview with Ben Shapiro back in 2020. Maybe he said it again recently, but there was actually discussion uh, whether that was true or not. And some people were upset that he had said such a thing, which kind of blows my mind. So the title of today's little blog is "Do Christians and Jews Worship the Same God?" And unequivocally, the answer is yes. So for us, it's very easy. We worship we found our belief system from Genesis to Revelation. It's one story all the way through. The faith of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Yeshua, Paul, Peter, Bartholomew. All these guys are all of the same kind of a linear thought process here. But in case there was any doubt, let's look at some scriptures. 1 Corinthians 10, 1 through 4. For I do not want you to be unaware, brethren, that our fathers were all under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and all ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink, for they were drinking from a spiritual rock which followed them, and the rock was Messiah, or the rock was Christ. So this is Paul. This is writing in somewhere 55 to 60 AD, writing to the Corinthian church, which was a mixed church in a pagan city. So there were Jews and there were Gentiles that he's writing to, and he's using the phrase "our fathers." Our fathers were all under the cloud and all passed through the sea and all were baptized into Moses. He's using very colorful language to talk about the trials that the Hebrews went through to enter the promised land. They were under the cloud. They passed through the sea, which is why I used a rendering of the parting of the sea as the picture for this message. And he's making it absolutely clear that our fathers applies to everybody who accepts Yeshua as the Messiah. And it applies to Jews and it applies to Christians. And that's because we're baptized into the family of God through the blood of Yeshua. By accepting Yeshua as the Messiah, we become heirs according to the promise and descendants of Abraham. We become adopted descendants of Abraham. It is very proper for us to refer to the patriarchs as our fathers, because they are now. They are because we've accepted the invitation to join Yahweh's family. And Paul is talking to this congregation as if that is a given. That he's not explaining it. He's working off of that foundation that the people are worshiping the same God. The difference between us and the Jews is accepting Yeshua as the Messiah, as the Son of God. They don't do that, but they certainly worship the same God that we do. We just worship him in the name of his Son. So if there's any more, speculation here, in Acts 7, 1 through 3, this is Stephen, who is on trial with the Sanhedrin, and the high priest says, "Are these things so?" And he said, "Hear me, brethren and fathers. The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he lived in Haran, and he said to him, 'Leave your country and your relatives and come into the land that I will show you.'" So this is Stephen talking to the high priest, and he says, our father Abraham. He's not saying that he's in a different place now. He's talking to them as if they are connected. They remained connected, brethren and fathers. He's giving them respect and honor, and he is one of them, and making it very clear to any reader that the God of glory that Stephen is still worshiping is the same God that they're worshiping. It's the same guy, and in our eternal being, right? It's not really a person, but in Acts 26, 4 through 7, this is Paul talking when he's on trial, and he says, "So then all Jews know my manner of life from my youth up. which from the beginning was spent among my own nation at Jerusalem, since they have known about me for a long time. If they are willing to testify that I lived as a Pharisee, according to the strictest sect of our religion, and now I am standing trial for the hope of the promise made by God to our fathers, the promise to which our 12 tribes hope to attain, as they earnestly serve God night and day. And for this hope, O king, I am being accused by the Jews. So if the Jews were willing to testify, they would have to testify that Paul is worshiping the same God as them. They just didn't want to hear any of that Yeshua stuff. They didn't want to hear any of that resurrection of the dead stuff, but it's still the same God. And this is Acts 26. This is very, very late in Scripture, in the apostolic time, so to speak. So let there be no doubt, my brothers and sisters, let there be no doubt whatsoever that Christians and Jews worship the same God. For us, it's a very easy thing to see, because we continue on the faith and from the foundation of the world, and we believe it's one string, one straight line from Genesis to Revelation, and that the blessed people in Revelation are those who keep the commandments of God, who keep the Torah, and have faith in Yeshua, the Messiah. So it's the same God, it's just that we accept Yeshua as the Messiah and they don't. And the other evidence, Romans 1 also testifies, that creation testifies, that we're supposed to be able to open our eyes and see with our eyes, what's going on around us. And just understand that Satan is trying to erase anybody from the face of this earth that worships the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whether they be Christian or whether they be Jew. So if Satan knows that we are worshiping the same God, and that makes us his enemy, then what are you going to do with that? Hopefully, you're going to double down and continue to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom. Have a blessed week, rest of your week, and hope to see you on Shabbat.